the biggest threat that people find, I think, is a woman who's owned her sexuality. There was this one slogan, ki beti padhao, beti bachao.
Yeah.
And I'm saying beta padhao, beti bachao. Sexual conversation doesn't need to wait till the teenagers. You know, it's something that can start very early. पर आप हम सब फैमिली में पॉपकॉर्न खाते हो, मैच देखेंगे तब आप कॉन्डम की ऐड दिखाओ, चलेगा. That time sexuality को किसी को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. Under the law in India, any form of sexual activity under 18 years is illegal. It's criminal. जिस दिन I can have the talk around what is sex, that day I will talk.
Welcome to Women's Social Corner. I'm Janvi and this is WSC Picks. Today we are going to talk about a very difficult topic. As a parent, how do we talk to our children about sexual abuse? How do we make them aware about body literacy? How do we make the child equipped enough to break silence when he or she meets with sexual abuse? We are going to discuss all these things with the founder of Circles of Safety. Let's meet Anuja Amin and discuss about the topic which most people avoid. Welcome Anuja to Women's Social Corner.
Thank you so much for having me, Janvi.
To start with, sex has always been a taboo subject, and to talk about the subject to our teenagers, to our children is really tough for parents. Tell us, what's the best way for parents to talk about sex with their teenage children?
Thank you for that question. So, I want to take it back a little bit. So, yes, many parents in my workshops ask me, how do I discuss this?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, very often people assume that the conversations in sexuality education revolve primarily around sex, when they actually don't.
Okay.
If you think about it, when we were little and when we were growing up, you would have maybe heard parents, when you're not wearing your clothes, you're just in your underwear and running around, people will say, shame, just jaldi kapda pehno, or kuch pehen lo, aise, you can't roam around like this. So the ideas, the attitudes, the norms around sex and sexuality is something that we gain from a very, very early age.
Yeah.
Who do you talk to? Even gender norms, for instance, right? Like, if I want to ask for water, I will not ask my dad, I will ask my mom. Things like that, right? So similarly, a lot of these attitudes are built at a very early age. So my general advice when I tell parents, and what I've done with my own two children, they're 10 and 6 now, is a lot of this conversation and foundation building happens from an early age. For instance, normalizing body parts. Imagine if you've never had a conversation, you've never told your child and addressed their body parts with the correct names, and all of a sudden you have to talk to your teenager and you say, I want to talk to you about the birds and the bees. How weird will that be, right? They'll say, we don't want to hear anything from you. However, if you have over time built conversation around, body curiosity, where do babies come from, for instance. These are questions actually that 5-6 years old people also ask, children ask. It's not necessarily for teenagers.
True.
And so there is an age appropriate, culturally acceptable way also of answering these questions. So I don't think there's one formula, but I would generally say that keep an open mind, keep your conditioning on the side when as a parent you're having these conversations. My one tip to any parent to answer any awkward question or have a conversation is, first find out what your child knows about the subject.
Okay.
So say, what do you think and what do you know about this? So they've answered half the question.
And then you
have to just correct a lot of the things. You will also learn about what are the sources where they're getting this information from. So I think if you are able to be a calmer, more open-minded parent who is saying that I want to tell you honestly what it is, and I want to tell you in an age-appropriate way, and then you're building bridges rather than firefighting.
It works that way.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And something like, say, eve teasing or something like sexual abuse has been happening since time immemorial.
Yes.
But still, parents or the way adults deal with it is always saying, "Aisa hota rehta hai." They still don't want to confront things. Do you think has anything changed with time, or why do we behave like this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think overall sex and sexuality, like you said earlier, is a taboo subject.
Yeah.
I think people want to believe they are more open now, but and there is definitely some progress. I don't want to sound like that very negative person. There has been some progress. However, when I'm interacting with teachers, parents through my workshops at Circles of Safety, we realize that there is a lot of anxiety. See, first there was denial that this maybe doesn't happen, or there was a lot of shame, and there is still shame, but there was a lot of that, and ghar ki baat ghar mein rakho, don't tell anybody about it, all these things, right? Today, parents have become helicopter parents, and they're like vigilantes little bit, right? Like, I want to know everything you're doing, I want to know who's talking to you, I want to know everything. So I think it's gone from this end straight to the other end. And so now a lot of my work involves telling the parent, hey, listen, you can't be omnipresent.
Yeah.
Okay? You will have to, and the goal of our programs is so that our children can confidently and safely navigate the world.
Yeah.
We are not saying that you have to know every whereabouts and like every aspect of their life. That is not the goal, right? And how will that happen? How that will happen is when you are empowering them with the information. So this thing that you're talking about, the sexual abuse and all of that, still being a taboo, all of that, it is a taboo. I think now even more with like Instagram and this whole social media life that people have, things are also spreading faster. But I'm also like, I think yesterday or day before, there was some episode in some Thane school where some kids were molested on a picnic.
Correct.
And parents were out and about saying nothing doing, the school principal and school people have to, all this is happening. So I think parents are taking a stand now. Many of my workshops, the people who attend are survivors themselves. So they're very clear that jo mere saath hua, I don't want it to happen to my child. So there is that sense of, I want to bring about a change, and no child should be an unfortunate statistic. That part is there. I would just hope that more than coming from a place of fear, we come from a place of no conversation is too taboo when the safety of our children is concerned.
Correct.
More like shifting to that more
How we
of
look at it.
empowering
rather
than the anxiety. Yeah.
And here I want to talk about sexual abuse survivors on how their mentality or psychology gets impacted even when they become adults or even in future. And are we medically equipped to help them?
So when we talk about survivors, first thing I want for all our listeners and viewers to know that it's seen as a girl issue, when actually studies have shown time and again that boys are equally vulnerable. Sometimes it really scares people to think equally vulnerable, and I'm like, yes, it is not like 10% boys. Studies in India also have shown that badi matra mein boys are also affected and are victims of child sexual abuse. And so first I want to say that unfortunately they have this whole double whammy, because they are seen as perpetrators and abusers also, and they can also be victims, right? So it puts them in this very difficult position. So the first thing is that when we talk about survivors, I think it's a lot easier for women to speak up because it is socially also more acceptable. It is also seen as more empowering. Today, when I talk about my journey, then it just seems like, wow, and you're doing something about it. But imagine if a man would be talking about it, then would they get the same amount of encouragement?
Or empathy.
And absolutely, or empathy. I have come across one group in Hyderabad who has a men's survivor circle and things like that. But I think a lot more work is necessary. Unfortunately, there are many organizations and NGOs, even in India, who are working on this issue. However, they are women-centric organizations. So, to your question around, are we medically ready? I think, what is the next step? Today, if I find out for myself, and I realized like, shit, this has happened to me and I am a survivor, because it takes some time for things to, be pieced together and all of that when I find out, right? When I realized the next step is I should be able to go to a place where I can get some help. I can talk to a counselor, I can manage my triggers, I can, there are so many different ways in which child sexual abuse impacts your life psychologically. It can even be eating disorders, it can be certain body image issues. Like I remember I used to dress myself in the most loose clothes, black and just very neutral stuff to just blend in the background. There was a phase when I had that. I didn't want any attention on my body, on me, right? So sometimes there are just little things that you do and you don't realize where it's coming from. I've seen that many survivors talk about the difficulties they're having in their own intimate relationships, because primarily when you're abused as a child, that trust is broken. And so to rebuild that trust with somebody else, that they will not breach it, is very difficult. So these are the sort of things where people do need help. Because of COVID, a lot more counselors and mental health is being given a lot more, support and much more accepted. So I think that has worked in our favor when it comes to survivors. And there is work being done. There are some free helplines, but I don't know in terms of the quality that one would be able to offer. Also, counseling is often very expensive. So then it is for the privileged few, right? So in that sense, definitely there's a lot more work that needs to be done medically and to support. I remember when you talk about medically, one last thing I want to say is, I remember being a college student and I went to my gynac and for a regular checkup, and she checked down there and then something, she was like, don't tell anybody that this is like this or something, like don't tell your partner, it's something you don't need to mention, So, but at that time she should have thought of, have you experienced any form of, has anybody breached your boundary in a way like this, or are you sexually active?
Healthy conversation.
Or something like that, these questions around what is, am I sexually active or not, or whatever that is.
Questions.
But rather than that, it was first like, don't tell anybody, because apparently it will make me unacceptable goods or, like rejected material or something, right? It apparently will take away from my purity or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that is how it is seen. So I think a lot more than just the facilities being available. So the government has lots of schemes. They have this Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya Karyakram, RKSK, where every district is supposed to have adolescent-friendly clinics where you can get help, you can, talk about sexual reproductive health, and all these things are supposed to be there. But are the people manning these stations, are they educated and equipped? I'm not talking about a degree. I'm talking about conditioning.
At this level.
To be able to give a more inclusive, a more sensitive approach to these conversations.
Sure.
Right? If I don't feel safe, if I feel judged, will I come and talk to you about it? Right?
It ends there.
Yeah, it won't. So.
And when you mentioned about purity, I think the most pure thing that we consider is a woman. Women, especially, we talk about her virginity.
Yeah.
How do you look at it? And in the sense, like, do you think that people are still so obsessed with a woman being a virgin, especially before marriage?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember that it was not, and I've said this before when we met also, that it's not just today, it's since like time immemorial. If I think about it, that when I was growing up, actually I think we were a much more open society.
Back then?
Pre-British.
Okay.
It's all these Victorian colonial ideas that have, made sex and sexuality so taboo. Otherwise, we were always a very open culture. You look at the Khajuraho sculptures and you look at all these carvings. We are the only country, I think, and the only to
which
have
displayed it.
And Kama Sutra and all come from India, no?
Correct.
So it's something that was very part of our being and very well accepted. And it is a lot of these Victorian ideals whereby homosexuality was banned, whereby, all these things came later. Talking about prevention of child sexual abuse, not saying we should talk to our children about these things more openly. Doesn't mean you tell them everything. But when they're asking something, how can one respond? This woman stood up and they said, ma'am, I'm sorry to say, but you are eroding our Indian values and culture, and these are all Western concepts you're bringing to our children. And I said, okay, so do our children not go through puberty? Do our children not have crushes on people? Do our children not menstruate? Are our children not abused? Then how is this a Western concept? And then I had to tell them about this, that actually this is going back to maybe our roots, to be more accepting of our sexuality, of who we are as a part, and not something we shun away, not something we keep in the closet, not something we say for a suhagrat, It's something that is very much a part of our expression in how we dress and what we choose to do with our bodies, our life, our relationships. So it's very central, right? And around the pure part,
virginity,
that part of it, I feel like, so like I said, that it's not something that used to be there. Today, people, I think, feel like they wear a certain type of dress and they listen to certain music, makes them more modern. But no, I think that actual evolved thinking comes from how you treat your partners and how you draw comments when you see somebody dressed a certain way. Are you still judging? Are you still making it all about, but she is like this? That sort of a thing. Like, is that your conclusion at the end of it? Then you have not evolved. I'm sorry. You could be driving your fancy cars and holding your fancy handbags, but at the end of it, how are you treating your children? What are you, just overall.
Correct.
I think that is what. And I was saying also that when I was growing up, we saw movies like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, where I think I've mentioned this before, where Kajol, in her most sporty avatar and short hair and, not so flamboyant way, was not girlfriend material, not marriageable material. But the minute after the interval, when she walked in with that thali, puja thali, and her long hair and her sari and her bhajans, then all of a sudden the same person was stumped and was thinking, my God, why did I not recognize this love earlier, right? And in Cocktail also, when you look at Veronica and Meera,
it's Meera who gets the
look
boy.
At Deepika, and it's like, oh, I'm having fun with you, but I can't take you home. I actually need somebody like Diana Pinto to take home, right? So in many ways, these things are still very prevalent. This sort of thinking, and girls bringing girls down. Also, I see many a times women are labeling, women are also, why is sexuality so threatening? And why is, I think, the biggest threat that people find, I think, is a woman who's owned her sexuality. I think that is something, and is not afraid to be judged or labeled, and is very
true.
So and so that whole purity
concept
factor is very different. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it doesn't lie in the vulva vagina at all.
And
right?
This really brings me, when you talked about women is the gatekeepers of patriarchy. I mean, this is, what we don't talk about. Like, we are so conditioned that we don't even realize what we're doing. So, do you feel it in your experiences also now when you're dealing with the younger lot?
Great question. When I think about many of these things, women, like, we are perpetuating cycles. And I don't want to just blame women like that, but I think overall as a system, as people, many a times because of very strong conditioning, that we are perpetuating certain cycles of blame. Like victim blaming is one when it comes to child sexual abuse. Also in terms of judging, labeling other women who may not be fitting the norm, etc. Right? Also, I see a lot of women thinking, wow, this is amazing. But the minute that same thing will happen in their house, it's not acceptable. So, dur se great, not in my backyard, right? So, that's something that I also very often feel how we are perpetuating some of these cycles rather than. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. If today, when we're talking about safety messages, why would you give these messages just to your girls? Why would you give certain, wear this, and when a boy is going out late at night and he's going for a party, do you say that, make sure that you're going out with your friends, that You drop them if there's other girls or boys. Make sure that you're not drinking too much or they're safe. And please be respectful in the way you're treating everyone.
I wish we had that
Right?
conversation.
Does that happen?
No.
So even as, and I don't want to put the onus just on mothers because it takes a village to raise a child. So I'm saying that every person who is part of this village. And so I don't want to put too much onus on the women. I think there's enough limelight and spotlight on so many things. But I think as a village, and we are part of it, how can we be more mindful and just take pause and think about what am I doing? Because sometimes I think many people are not even, they're just doing it without thinking.
True.
They're not purposely trying to be like that.
Yeah. That's the
I would say pause. And like there was this one slogan ki beti padhao, beti bachao.
yeah.
And I'm saying beta padhao, beti bachao.
That's so right.
Right? Because talk also to our boys. Why are all these conversations, and that is sometimes my problem with organizations working on these sort of issues, focusing just on women. Why are you cutting off half the population?
True. I mean, to save girls from getting sexually abused, send them to a self-defense class. You know, parents would put that money instead of just educating the boys. And I think that's where...
Why not talk to the boys?
Why not talk?
Simple stuff. When they're really little and when they're playing with their friends, and then, you know, when you see certain ways, or brother, sister, siblings, whatever, how, you know, these things of respect, to respect boundaries, to not treat somebody else in a way that you don't want to be treated. You know, a lot of these things start from an early age. And that's why I'm saying that sexual conversation doesn't need to wait till the teenage years.
True.
You know, it's something that can start very early, and you're forming that basis for those conversations. जैसे KG और नर्सरी में क्या सिखाते हैं? ABC सिखाते हैं, 1, 2, 3 सिखाते हैं, आपको ट्रिग्नोमेट्री नहीं सिखाएंगे. तो हम क्या बोल रहे हैं इसमें, when it comes to body literacy as I call it, और sexuality education, हम बोल रहे हैं जिस दिन I can have the talk around what is sex, that day I will talk. पर उससे पहले जो ABCs of sexuality education
body
है,
parts,
setting what are, you know, comfortable in your body parts, the right sort of mindset, not having that conditioning. You know, अभी जो इतनी वो क्रिकेट मैच अभी वर्ल्ड कप जो हुआ था, and I was watching it, and बीच में condoms की ad आ रही थी, and ऊपर 4 crore viewers and इतने crore viewers, तो बच्चे भी होंगे उधर.
Correct.
Right? That time it's acceptable the minute it is used to sell a product. Right? That time sexuality को किसी को कोई problem नहीं है.
Yeah.
You sexualize selling a fruit juice, you sexualize selling soaps, कुछ problem नहीं उसमें. But God help if I want to talk to my children
about
basics. I'm not even talking about sex.
True.
Then everyone has a problem.
Yeah.
एंड इस सेइंग ये कैसे बात कर सकते हो, आप तो इनोसेंस, मेरे बच्चे की इनोसेंस ले रहे हो, आप उनको करप्ट कर रहे हो.
True.
पर आप हम सब फैमिली में पॉपकॉर्न खाते हो, मैच देखेंगे तब आप कॉन्डम की ऐड दिखाओ, चलेगा. How does that work? Right?
And when you're talking about this younger lot and their exposure through television, now there is also like social media platforms where, you know, they understand about they consume a lot of sexual content, and I think they're growing up faster than ever before. Like I go to a gym and I see a 9-year-old girl lifting weights and she wants to work out.
Yeah.
How do you see this, in the sense, because it's more important than ever before to talk about such topics?
You know, I realized that I was never really a social media person too much, but during COVID is when I opened my first Instagram account, okay? And I still don't have a personal one, I just have a Circles of Safety one. And I realized when my daughters, because they were home through COVID, my husband, daughters, we were all always home. And I said, you know, I took some help from an agency to help me build this social media presence of Circles of Safety. And they would say, okay, ये reel करना है, आपको खुद को shoot करना है, etc. And I would go put makeup or something, and I would have never put makeup at home. So it also made my girls wonder. That time they were, I think, 6 and 3 or something like that, right? 4 years back, 6 and 3. So it also made them wonder that why is mama doing this? So then there was this connection of, if I have to be in a photo or on a screen, I have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Then I realized, is that what I'm doing? So then I said, okay, आज मामा को नहीं मेकअप करना, and it's okay. आज मेरा ये मूड है, आज मुझे कपड़े भी चेंज नहीं करने, जो मैं जैसी हूँ टी शर्ट पैंट में मुझे वैसे. So I had to very consciously show that it's great if sometimes I like today I want to put makeup and I want to look a certain way, and that's fine. And but I should never feel the compulsion to be a certain way just because I'm with a certain person or I'm in a certain situation. And so I had to very categorically and discuss that with them every time it happened. And but I'm just trying to give you an example of the seeds are sown from the home.
Correct.
Right? So I have heard many parents say, आजकल के बच्चे कितना उनका exposure है, फोन के बिना चलता नहीं है. And I'm like, can you put your phone aside for 24 hours and you tell me अगर आपको चलता है?
Yeah.
Then they are seeing that every doctor appointment I'm on the phone, even in the car when I pick them up and I'm on the phone, then that's what
Kids
they
will imitate
want to
that,
do,
true.
right? So where is that coming from? Number one, so that exposure. Second is, and God knows that I've also been guilty of this, where sometimes I really need to do something and I said, can you just watch your whatever, you want to watch Paw Patrol, you want to watch Peppa Pig, watch it, I'm going to quickly finish this, right? I mean, sometimes that happens, and I've been to restaurants and everything where I've seen lots of kids also
with
have
the phones,
and I've done that sometimes also, right? So I've realized, and there was a study that really scared me during COVID, where they're talking about technology. And if you look at, so it's not called child pornography, it's called child sexual abuse material, CSAM.
Okay.
Child sexual abusive material, right? And there was a report, and there's a global compilation of reports that is done कि पूरी दुनिया में ऐसे कितने, because it's all online, so they have a database कि कितने ऐसे report, कितने ऐसे instances हुए हैं, and then they divide it by country. So when that report was released in 2020 or 2021, India topped the list on the amount of CSAM activity, and so child pornography is what people call it, right? Just to happen maximum in terms of distribution and consumption in India. Okay. Next was Bangladesh or Pakistan or something like that. So in this region itself, accounted for some 20% of the global consumption and distribution. Can you imagine? So there is a lot of this happening. Okay. And so when we're often giving our children these phones, another study also said that the average age when a child comes across pornographic material or sexually explicit material, it could be images, videos, whatever, online, is now almost at between 10 to 12 years. And then we're saying, बच्चे से बात नहीं कर रही हैं because they're very innocent, right? And the same study showed that about 40% of them intentionally looked for things, either because बस में किसी ने कुछ बोला है या कहीं से कुछ सुना है, तो मम्मी पापा से तो बात नहीं कर सकते, तो जाके क्या किया, सीधा गूगल सर्च मार दिया, right? And then that's what comes up. And in I think 50+% के cases, unintentionally कुछ ad pop up हुआ या कुछ हुआ, and then they have been exposed to it, and then they don't know how to have this conversation with their parent.
Yeah.
So technology is a big problem in that sense. However, there are parental controls and all that people are using, but I'm saying don't rely fully on that. True. It's a good practice, but also have these conversations. Yeah. Technology has complicated things greatly.
Address the elephant in the room, which is Indian policies around, sexual abuse. Even to get an FIR registered, dab nikal jata hai, It's not an easy thing, and to get justice is another thing altogether. How do you look at this system where sometimes as a system, we're not able to help the victim? I wouldn't go to a police station to lodge a complaint if something is wrong has happened to me.
Sure. So, honestly, we have not worked directly too much with survivors. So, in terms of on the ground, जाके मैंने कभी किसी survivor के साथ lodge नहीं किया complaint. So, my viewpoint and my perspective here is going to be a little more theoretical. Okay, I wanted to put that out. I believe that the law currently we have in place for children is called POCSO, Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences, right? 2012, and it is a very comprehensive law, and it is the first one where it is gender neutral. So it is acknowledging that boys can also be victims, right? What I also genuinely like about the law is it places the blame on the on the accused.
Yeah.
So they are saying that you are guilty until you are proven innocent.
Innocent.
Whereas दुनिया क्या करती है,
उल्टा.
सोसाइटी क्या करती है, विक्टिम ब्लेमिंग. यू नीड टू प्रूव कि तुम्हारे साथ ये हुआ था. अरे दिस इज अ वेरी स्टैंड अप गाय, वेरी सोसाइटी के लिए कितना भला किया इसने, ये तो थोड़ी ना ऐसे कर, राइट? सो यू हैव टू प्रूव कि मेरे साथ ये हुआ था, बट द लॉ इज नॉट सेइंग दैट. सो दो इन दोज बिट्स I think the law is very progressive. It has taken the time to understand the ground realities. Also, the law has a provision for special courts where they're saying कि जल्दी फटाफट ट्रायल होनी चाहिए और जल्दी से जजमेंट आना चाहिए. So what they have told, stipulated time is 1 year. Right, which is much better than, but I don't know सही में कितना ये हो रहा है. But there are special courts. There have been provisions made to make sure that the child doesn't have to once again interact with the accused, that the child is not re-victimized. There are sort of clauses where they're also saying video recording is possible to give your testimony. There's a special room assigned, so you won't even have to see the accuser. All these things are there. There's a support person assigned to your family and you for financial aid is given, counseling is given. Now it all comes down to, on paper, this is great. In spirit, this is great. Right? In fact, the last thing I want to say about the law is also that they recognize that many a times the abuser can be in the family.
And that happens most of the time.
Which is the case, right? 80% research shows that 80% of the time, the abuser is somebody that the child knows or is in the family or is a trusted adult, right? कहीं देखा है, known person है, right? And so they have distinguished between aggravated offenses and, like, suppose sexual assault would be if somebody you don't know, but aggravated sexual assault is the same sort of molestation has happened by a family member or somebody who is in charge of taking care of the child, right?
True.
So all these nuances the law has taken, and that's great. However, the people who are responsible for implementing it, like you said, police station. उसमें बोला है 24 घंटे में FIR तो करनी ही पड़े दर्ज, medical person will check and everything, right? But what is that medical person like? And what is their thinking? What is the police saying? कि अभी छोड़ो ना, इसमें क्या मैं करूँ? All that is where the educating, so I would not say it's policy, right?
It's a people.
And the law also says that schools and child-centric organizations must do regular awareness training. But schools को ये पता नहीं कि उनको ये करना है.
Correct.
Right? So policy is there. Now implementation हो रहा है धीरे. But there are still things that need to be worked on, very unfortunately, and this is what my teenage students are most disappointed with. The law says any sort of sexual activity under 18 years of age, not okay. So what about consensual relationships? What about your 16-year-old who's dating and and is feeling all these things, and they're like, ma'am, really? It's illegal. I said, it is. Under the law in India, any form of sexual activity under 18 years is illegal. It's criminal, right? So they didn't mean to penalize teenagers, but ऐसा है. So they are trying to see how, they're recognizing which are some of the issue areas, and they're trying to work on that also.
True. But have there ever been any funny or bizarre or, any emotional questions or any emotional such encounters which, really stayed with you?
Oh, I have a whole booklet of questions that I've been asked by students. So I take workshops on sexuality education. We call it the Safer, Smarter Me program, and we work with grades 5 to grades 12.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we talk about everything, right, from body curiosity, changes, puberty, healthy
Menstruation, yeah,
relationships,
everything.
sexual reproductive health, body safety, all this, right? I've had students, ask me, when I ask them actually, कि आपको क्या बताया गया था? Where did you come from?
Yeah.
Where do babies come from? And I recently in Baroda in a school, grade 7 kids were telling me, मम्मा हमें बोला था भगवान की देन है, शादी हुई फिर आप आ गए. Then at one point we were just laughing and I was like, you know, hospital se aaye ho. So I was like, don't worry, you've not been swiggied from the hospital, and we were like just laughing about these sort of things that, why don't, when they're like, madam, ma'am, why don't parents just tell us what is the big deal?
Yeah.
That is something that always stays with me. I've had students ask me, why are condoms flavored? Why, my God, all sorts of, is it okay if I don't want to get married? And I'm like, you're in grade 5, do not feel anxious about marriage right now. These are decisions you don't have to take right now. Yeah, there are, and then there are more emotional moments also where sometimes there are students who've written anonymously that, I've been abused or this is happening to me. And I always tell them that, this is a helpline you can reach out to, or I always tell them that you can write to me because it's anonymous, I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
And then we sort of talk to the school, we let them know that something of this sort is happening. If a student does reach out, then connect, and then we will connect them further to somebody who can help them, a counselor and all of that.
Yeah.
And one last thing that you mentioned about, I would not want to go to a police station.
Yeah.
So there is also a free POXO e-box online, where online you can just in 3 steps, it's very simple. I tried to go to it and very simple, self-explanatory. मुझे English इतना आए नहीं तो भी ठीक है, because it's just pictures and I have to mark. It's really nice, very well done.
Yeah.
That is available. There are free helplines, Childline. I give them all these sources where you can call and just report if something has happened, and they will then. And Childline, I think, has done a fantastic job of
Correct.
supporting victims. So, yeah.
You're doing a lot in this sector, which is so untapped, where there's no one, who is an expert. Tell us something about your own journey on, you getting into this, and what
Yeah.
was your motivation? What is your story?
I could go on and on for about this, but in a nutshell, so Circles of Safety is a social enterprise, and essentially it is my response to the shame, guilt and denial that I faced when I was growing up as a survivor of child sexual abuse. And I remember that I was around 5 years old when this first happened to me, and at that time I had no understanding कि ये गलत है. And many a times when I talk to parents and I tell them, they feel like it will be forced and my child will know. And so I'm telling you that nothing about it felt forced, nothing about it felt scary in any way. And so I didn't know that I had to say anything happened to me, right? We often think that the child will be so traumatized.
Yeah.
At that point, I wasn't. It's only years later when I started realizing more things around sexuality that I was like, shit, ये कुछ हुआ है मेरे साथ.
Correct.
Right? So, and I pieced the timeline together. I pieced certain, life events at that time together, and I realized at that time I was this old. So it was more in hindsight, and then I realized that it took me 22 years to actually tell my family about it, that that I was a survivor and this happened to me. Till then, I realized that what was stopping me, and then I realized that silence is the molester's best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you stay silent, then they will do what they're doing. I think the thing they fear the most is a child who is not afraid to talk, is a child who knows these things and will tell somebody, right? So I said, तो कुछ करना पड़ेगा ताकि children can talk, because I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. So that is essentially how it started. And I used to just go to schools. Many people would say, very important, but we can't give you money for this. I said, okay, mujhe karna hai, I want to talk. And so that's how it started as a passion project. And then very soon I realized that just talking about it and telling my story was also giving others the permission to accept and talk about their own experiences of
What they went through.
sexual trauma in any way, that at whatever age that they have. And so I realized that telling was healing. And I wanted to create a space whereby more and more people had a chance to do that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was this thing where there's that you want to have this transformation and become like an agent of social change, and that's really what I went through. And then from a passion project, I got incubated at a Women Startup Program, NSR Cell at IIM Bangalore. I got incubated at Unlimited India, which is also a fantastic incubation program for social impact ventures. And then I started structuring and I said, okay, how can I create this impact at scale and reach more people? And that's currently what we're doing. And we're a for-profit organization and like now doing it properly in a structured manner.
Interesting.
Collaborating with several organizations to bring about this awareness and integrate sexuality education and body literacy into the school curriculum. That is my end goal.
True.
When my child graduates from grade 12, I want this in that curriculum so that the next generation, has it.
True. You're dealing with students till 12th grade.
Yeah.
Do you think the girls that you meet today are much more empowered already than...
Absolutely. They're asking the questions that I've never asked. They are definitely questioning the status quo. And that's what I'm saying again, Janvi, that it's very simple when I just have to create that I'm not saying it's simple, but I'm saying today it's much more acceptable when I have to create that ripple and I have to ask and I have to rebel and speak for myself.
Yeah.
Are we able to do it for others?
Is
Are
the
we
question.
able to understand the intersectionalities, how this problem is affecting people differently?
Yeah.
Is it women just standing up for women, or are we also recognizing that boys can have this, right? Are we also still, like I said, labeling, putting other women down for certain experiences, for certain needs? So, yes, people are speaking up, but I think then वो मतलब बहुत surface level पे हो रहा है. So I'm wishing for a deeper understanding
of it.
and deeper empathy and deeper sort of sense of responsibility and citizenship.
Correct.
Yeah. That is my goal.
Yeah. And as a parting remark, what are the things you would want to tell to parents that, it's high time that we do this or we don't do this?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep it brief.
Yeah.
First, I would tell parents, keep the moral brigade out of your homes and living rooms and your classrooms. So if your school is taking initiative and doing something, see and have a discussion with them about what you're comfortable with. Don't say, ye kyun kar rahe ho?
Yeah.
Right? Try and understand what is being done. Second thing I want to tell parents is start conversations early. Don't wait for puberty to hit. Like I said, we think all of a sudden hormones will hit in puberty and then everything will happen. But there is that grounding that is necessary before.
Okay.
And finally, I would tell parents is that I know your heart is in the right place and that you want to do something. There are many parents who say, I know this is important, but I don't know how to go about it. So today there are resources available. You can reach out to us and we're more than happy to help you navigate these conversations. So, I feel like take that leap and question your own conditioning. Take a moment to understand and to sort of keep an open mind and educate yourselves on other perspectives, right? I would say
correct.
That's what you need to do.
I think there's a lot of hope for the future.
I'm hopeful. Surely.
Thank you so much for your time and for your insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Janvi.
And for more such interactions, for more such interviews, keep watching Women's Social Corner. Thank you.